All right. Well, hello and welcome to tonight's Family Connection information session about what school will look like next year. I'm Dr. Admin Alexander, Director of the Office of Family and Community Engagement for VB Schools. I have with me from Virtual Virginia, Ms. Sarah Warnick, Director of Products and Services, Ms. Stephanie Shia for School Support Coordinator, April Bittner, K-12 Instructional Coach, and Dr. Brian Mott, Executive Director of Virtual Virginia. From VB Schools, Dr. Kip Rogers, Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Don Robertson, Chief Schools Officer, and Mr. Jack Friedman, Chief Operations Officer. And special thank you to Ms. Kim Fox and Ms. Stacy Lowe, who are interpreters today. I'm going to go run through the agenda for tonight with you really quickly. First, we will have an informational video for you to view. Next, Virtual Virginia will present information about their program. Following that, Dr. Rogers will present more information about what face-to-face instruction will look like in VB schools and how it compares to Virtual Virginia. And last, we will have our question and answer session with all of our panelists. And as a reminder, VB schools families were asked to submit questions ahead of this information session that we will answer here today. And with that, I'll ask you to watch this short video, and then we'll turn it over to presenter, Ms. Sarah Warnick.
Virginia Beach City Public Schools is planning for the next school year, and families will have the choice of in-person or virtual instruction. As Superintendent Dr. Aaron Spence announced at the April 13th school board meeting, it is the division's intent to provide in-person instruction 5 days a week during the 2021-2022 school year for those families who choose face-to-face learning. For families who choose virtual instruction for the 2021-2022 school year, the Virtual Virginia program will be the primary learning platform. An FAQ page is available on vbschools.com. There's also a wealth of information on the Virtual Virginia website. Virtual Virginia courses are aligned to Virginia standards of learning, taught by certified teachers across the Commonwealth, and all costs are covered by Virginia Beach City Public Schools. This option is open to all current students and to any family who resides in Virginia Beach and enrolls their child into Virginia Beach City Public Schools for school year 2021-2022. All families choosing Virtual Virginia will receive 100% of their instruction virtually for 1 full year. Students will be assigned to a Virginia Beach City Public Schools homeschool based on their address. Enrollment in Virtual Virginia will not include any Virginia Beach City Public Schools Academy or advanced academic programs, as that curriculum requires in-person learning at the home school. Students may participate in extracurricular activities at the home school, including athletics, SCA, and clubs. Participation in any activities at the home school will require the student to provide their own transportation. The questions in the survey are designed to help Virginia Beach City Public Schools plan for the resources and staff to meet the needs of each and every student during the 2021-2022 school year. Please consider carefully before answering each question. And if you need more information, please call our hotline, 757-337-1641, which is answered Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. This survey will be open until May 16th. For families who do not respond to the survey, their children will receive face-to-face instruction for school year 2021-2022. Thank you for your support of Virginia Beach City Public Schools.
All right. Thank you for the video, Mary. Sorry if it was a little glitchy. You can definitely find it on the video on vbschools.com for further information. But right now we're going to go to Virtual Virginia and Miss Sarah Warnick. Miss Warnick?
Thank you, Dr. Alexander. So on behalf of Virtual Virginia, we'd like to tell you a little bit about the program, and we'll start with a definition of who Virtual Virginia is. Virtual Virginia is a program of the Virginia Department of Education. Through Virtual Virginia, we offer online courses, professional learning opportunities, and digital content to support students, schools, and educators across the Commonwealth. Virginia Public School Divisions and Virtual Virginia partner together. And this way we can ensure that learners have access and opportunity to those experiences to complement those in the physical school. And so we'll talk, if we go on to the next slide, about what it takes for supporting a successful learner. At Virtual Virginia, we believe in the partnership to fully support our students. We partner with public schools, and through this partnership, Virtual Virginia provides access to the course content. Our course content lives in Canvas Learning Management System. We provide resources, instruction with the Virginia Certified Highly Qualified Teacher, and the online learning environment. The public school will continue to provide support for students. They provide a counselor, school-based mentor, textbooks, materials, and student services. And together, we really provide the full support that a student needs to be successful. So we'll go into the next slide. Thank you. So I'm going to start by talking a little bit about the K through 5 program. Virtual Virginia is offering a full-time K through 5 program in the following areas. We provide full core instruction in math, science, social studies, reading and language arts, and STEM for kindergarten through grade 5. All of the students are going to be working with one core teacher for all of their instruction in these areas. Each of the class sizes is no larger than 24. These students will be from all over Virginia, and that really provides a rich learning environment for students in the class. Virtual Virginia, again, provides that full-time teacher of record. Our model combines synchronous and asynchronous instruction. We support division autonomy for specials and local assessments. Our model includes opportunities for whole group instruction, one-to-one instruction, and small group instruction. These are really important to support the progress of each learner. And our teachers hold office hours, not just for the synchronous sessions and small groups and one-to-one, but also to support parents and guardians, because we want to make sure that parents are involved in the process and have full contact with the teachers. So next slide, please. Thank you. So the Virtual Virginia K-5 teachers work Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. The synchronous sessions occur daily between 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. So what happens after that time? Teachers use the time in the afternoon to lead small group sessions for one-to-one support and for the parent-teacher conferences. They also use that time for lesson planning and grade level team planning. Supplemental lessons are offered daily, and we'll talk about that in just a moment with the schedule. These are offered by Virtual Virginia in art, dance, world languages, STEM, and wellness. So these are provided in addition to those that may be offered locally. So K-5 attendance is taken daily. We want our students to be online and participating and active in those synchronous sessions, interacting with teachers and with the other students in the class. Students are expected to participate in all of the synchronous session activities and to use their camera. This is important so that teachers can see when students may not be understanding or when they may need some additional help. The parent and guardian, anytime a student is absent, should contact the Virtual Virginia teacher just to make sure that they have plans for any missed work. Absences are always reported to the local school, and they follow the local attendance policies. So absences are reported on a daily basis. And so now I'm going to turn things over to Virtual Virginia instructional coach, April Bittner, who's going to walk us through what the schedule looks like for our students.
Thank you, Sarah. So the visual here represents the K-5 sample instructional schedule. And as you can see, this is the schedule that students would have Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So class starts for these students at 8 o'clock, and they're greeted by their teachers with their morning meeting. Their daily welcome is here, some social and emotional learning, and of course, team building, because building that community is very important for these K through 5 students. They next move into reading and language arts, followed by a break. And our breaks incorporate stretches, movement activities, and different brain breaks based on what the needs of the student are. At 9:30, they move into mathematics, followed by another break. They move into then their specialty class, which could be a variety of things: physical activity and wellness, world languages, dance, and arts, as Sarah had mentioned previously. From there, their next lunch and recess. Social studies is at 11:45, science 12:20, and then students close out their synchronous component of the day at 1 o'clock with their afternoon meeting. The latter part of the day is where students are engaged in asynchronous work, and also where instructors have the ability to do those one-on-one meetings and those small group sessions as mentioned previously. Next slide, please. Wednesdays are slightly different, and this is what the schedule for Wednesdays looks like for our K-5 students. Wednesdays incorporates just a little more of that asynchronous component. So as with the other days, students begin with a morning meeting. That's a really important part of their day. That's their way for their teachers to check in with them first thing, see how they're doing, and continue with that team building. 8:30, reading and language arts, followed by a break at 9:20. Mathematics at 9:25. 10:15 is when STEM comes into place for these students, whole group STEM instruction, or perhaps small group application. And then 10:45 to 3 is where you see a difference here in the Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday schedule. So there's more of that asynchronous component on Wednesdays, but this is the opportunity for the instructor to really dive in and help those students that need one-on-one, put their reading groups together, their math groups together, or schedule other conferences needed with parents and students. Next slide, please. Student accounts and accommodations. Counselors enroll students in Virtual Virginia courses and share that login information with students and parents. Counselors are responsible for entering and updating student accommodations in the Virtual Virginia SIS, which is Genius for us. And Virtual Virginia teachers partner with local schools to implement those accommodations. Counselors and mentors monitor student progress and work closely with Virtual Virginia teachers to organize academic support conferences in areas of concern. Next slide, please. Thank you. Assessments and grades. SOL assessments. Virtual Virginia does not administer end-of-course SOL assessments or diagnostic tests. These tests are administered by the local school and are administered according to the division's schedule. And these tests would also include, for your younger learners, your PALS testing and those types of things. Virtual Virginia grades. We provide a numerical grade for all of our courses. The local school then has the ability to convert that grade to the local scale according to the local school's grade reporting schedule, whether that be interim, quarter, or by semester. Parent auditor accounts. Virtual Virginia teachers will communicate regularly with students, parents, guardians, and they'll share weekly work, progress, and they'll share upcoming deadlines in what we call a due this week email that's sent out at the beginning of every week. Parents and guardians can monitor their students' progress through what we call an auditor account at Virtual Virginia. This role provides parents and guardians with access to course features such as the calendar and course grades. And I'll now turn it back over to Sarah Warnick.
Thank you, April. Virtual Virginia has shared a lot of information to help support parents and guardians. As you all are exploring the program, we want to make sure that you have as much information about the program as possible. So we have a special page dedicated on our website, virtualvirginia.org, for information specifically to help support parents. So some of the information that you'll find on that page include the courses that are possible to take through Virtual Virginia, some of the special ways that Virtual Virginia supports students, whether they have a 504, an IEP, or maybe a language plan, and how we support with some of those additional services. And it really, again, is the partnership of Virtual Virginia working directly with Virginia Beach Public Schools to make a great experience for your students. But I encourage you to take a look at the information that's on that page for additional pieces that you may be wondering about how Virtual Virginia can support your students. All right, so now we're going to transition into talking a little bit about our secondary program. And next slide, please. So again, Virtual Virginia really relies, just as in the K through 5 program, we rely on that partnership with the local schools. Again, on the Virtual Virginia side, providing that access to the content and the resources that live in the Canvas learning management system, the direct instruction that happens in those synchronous sessions with the Virtual Virginia teachers, and the asynchronous instruction that happens in the work that students are doing in their courses. Partnering with the public school, we work directly with the counselors and the school-based mentors. The school provides the textbooks and materials. And again, we partner on those student services. So together, we are really supporting everything that a student would need to be successful online. Next slide, thank you. So for our 6 to 12 teachers, again, they hold office hours just like the K to 5 teachers. Our full-time teachers work from 8 a.m. until 4 p.m. Some fewer hours on Friday, 8 a.m. until 2 p.m., but that does give some flexibility to hold evening office hours throughout the week. And that's just an opportunity for students if they want to drop in and meet with their teachers and get some additional help. So that provides some flexibility. We have both full-time and adjunct instructors that work with Virtual Virginia. And when we talk about the schedule and some of the courses that are offered, you'll see the flexibility that the adjunct instructors offer for some evening classes. We know that our secondary students have different needs than our K through 5 students. Many times they're involved in sports. Sometimes they may move between Virtual Virginia and other opportunities if they're taking CTE courses or other courses that may only be offered at a local school. The synchronous component, again, is a very important part of engaging in the instruction. Our Virtual Virginia teachers offer daily opportunities for synchronous instruction. These include 3 content sessions per week. That may be a deeper dive into specific topics covered in the course. It might be an opportunity for a Socratic seminar, a chance to talk through specific tasks that the students have to do. Maybe they're going to do a writing workshop and really work together to co-create an essay. So it really depends on the course content. But it does provide that interaction and that opportunity to engage in the content as a group. There's an opportunity as well for a Q&A session. This one is less structured than those content sessions. For the Q&A, this is a chance for a student to come in and ask specific questions that they may have about the tasks that they're doing. And students also have an opportunity for one-to-one appointments. We dedicate a specific day, as you'll see on the schedule in just a moment, on Fridays for one-to-one appointments with teachers, but students can schedule them really any day of the week. We know that that's an important part of making sure that we're differentiating instruction and meeting students' needs. Our instructors communicate regularly. So what does that communication look like? It might be through email, it might be a phone call or a video call, or it might be jumping into a Zoom session. We provide lots of different ways to meet students where they are and make sure that they're understanding and moving through the content well. An example of the communication, just to make sure that students know what's coming up, is a Due This Week email. This is an email that goes out at the start of the week to all stakeholders, and it just explains what students are going to be doing. It's kind of an overview of what's coming up each day of the week and what students can expect. And this is just an opportunity for teachers to make sure that students outside of Canvas, outside of the calendar and some of those tools that help students stay organized, this is just another way that we can communicate what's coming up. Next slide, please. So I'm going to turn things over now to April Bittner to talk a little bit about the middle school and high school schedules.
Thank you, Sarah. So this visual represents our middle school, so our grades 6 through 8 synchronous schedule. And this is for our full year courses and also for our semester courses, 6 through 8 specifically looking at full year. So as you can see, depending on the day, the times of synchronous sessions for content areas cascade, so they will change as the week goes on. And we do this so that we can accommodate as many students across the state as we can. We do recognize that schedules in many different areas are very different, and students have many different schedules. So this is the hope that if students can't attend every session, they can at least engage with their teacher live once a week, and then rely on those recordings to help support that material. So as you can see here, using English as an example, on Mondays, students would have a synchronous session with their English instructor at 8 a.m. On Tuesdays, that would then shift to 9 a.m. On Wednesdays, that would shift to 10 a.m. And then on Thursdays, students would have that Q&A with their English instructor from 11 to 11:55. As Sarah mentioned, Fridays are dedicated to that one-on-one and small group. But Fridays are not just the only day for students to meet with their instructor. Instructors are more than willing to set up those one-on-ones throughout the week as they're needed and as they can best accommodate student schedules. So this is the sample for, again, middle school, grades 6 through 8. Next slide, please. This is our sample for our secondary courses, which would focus more on our 9 through 12 grade levels. Again, using English as an example, some of the times are slightly similar to what you had seen in the middle school calendar, with a couple differences as we begin to get into more of those AP courses, EPF, health and PE, much more that's offered. So using English again as the example, on Mondays, students would engage in that content-rich synchronous instruction at 8 o'clock. On Tuesdays, 9:30 a.m., Wednesdays, 11 a.m., and Thursdays, the Q&A with their English instructor would be at 1:15. And Friday, again, is dedicated to that extra synchronous support through one-on-one and small group. Now, what you'll see with this sample secondary synchronous schedule is the evening hours from 6 to 9. We've got that set aside for AP, our health and PE courses, EPF, fine arts, computer science, and also elective courses. We have many adjunct instructors that work with us in the evenings as they teach during the day. So this best accommodates not only their schedules, but also student schedules that may not have time during the day to get into synchronous instruction, but they do have time in the evenings to engage in that. Next slide, please. Again, similar to what we went over with K through 5, students with accounts and accommodations, the counselor, as with the K-5 students, is responsible for enrolling students in Virtual Virginia, and they're also responsible for sharing that login information with students and parents. Counselors enter and update student accommodations in our SIS system, and Virtual Virginia teachers again partner with the local school to implement those accommodations. Counselors and mentors, as with K-5, monitor those students' progress and work closely with Virtual Virginia teachers as needed to give additional academic support, or perhaps to conference if there's an area of concern that needs a little extra addressing or just needs to be talked through between the school and Virtual Virginia instructors. Next slide. Thank you. As with K-5, assessments are administered through the local school. And these would include the end of the course SOLs and any other diagnostic tests that need to be given. These tests are administered by the local school and according to the local school's calendar for these administration dates. Grades are given in a numerical form for all Virtual Virginia courses, and the local school then has the ability to convert that grade to their local scale according to their grade reporting schedule, whether that be interim, quarter, or semester. Attendance for 6 through 12 is slightly different than that of K through 5. Synchronous session attendance is strongly encouraged for our 6 through 12 learners. We do understand that schedules vary, but we encourage all students to try to come to those synchronous sessions when and if they can. Engaging with the course, the teacher, and their peers in the course is a key part of that learning process. All synchronous sessions are recorded, and these recordings are stored in course libraries that are available in all of our courses to students that cannot attend these sessions, or for students that may need to go back and rewatch one just to master the lesson or the content or the skill even more than what they got in that synchronous session. Parent auditor accounts are the same as with our K-5 learners. Virtual Virginia teachers, again, will communicate regularly with all stakeholders, sharing weekly work, progress, and upcoming deadlines. Parents and guardians can monitor students' progress through the auditor account at Virtual Virginia. And this account will allow those parents and guardians to access the course calendar and grades. And the course calendar is very powerful for access because there you can find links, dates, times for synchronous in session, assignments and when they are due, and any other important announcements that instructors may need to remind students of or post for extra information. And I will turn it back over to Sarah Wardick.
So again, just to close, we want to make sure that parents have all of the information that you may need. So in addition to the specific documents that are on the parent guardian page about the K-5 program, the secondary program, ways that Virtual Virginia provides students who are receiving other services, we have information about the courses, materials used for the courses, as well as how Virtual Virginia creates our courses. We talked a little bit at the K-5 level about the content. Virtual Virginia doesn't purchase content. We actually make all of our courses in-house. And this is important because our courses are designed from the Virginia standards by Virginia educators for Virginia students. And we are supporting the same goals as Virginia Beach Public Schools. We want our students to be successful. And so we are all moving towards the same goals together. So if you are interested in seeing some sample lessons, I encourage you as well to take a look. We have some posted for a variety of levels, K to 12, on the curriculum page on the website, in addition to those parent support pieces. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn things back over to Dr. Alexander.
Thank you so much. And thank you guys for the wonderful information about Virtual Virginia. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Rogers to speak about VB Schools presentation. Dr. Rogers?
Thank you, Dr. Alexander, and thank you, colleagues from Virtual Virginia. I want to thank all of our parents and families and students who are joining us this evening to learn more about Virtual Virginia and what we will be offering our students next year. I do want to reiterate, though, that our plan is to make sure that we engage all of our students in a 5-day face-to-face learning opportunity beginning in the fall. And as great as the virtual learning experience has been this year, and we're certainly planning for that to take place next year, our preference is to have 100% of our students in school face-to-face 5 days a week. And I just want to reiterate that, and especially for our youngest learners, for our students in grades kindergarten through 2, certainly our students with disabilities, our English language learners, and students who may have a 504 plan. Our preference is to have them face-to-face, and we are planning to partner with Virtual Virginia for those families who want a virtual experience 100% to have a robust experience. We can go to the next slide, please. So I just want to recap some of the similarities and some of the differences between the face-to-face opportunities and Virtual Virginia, and just share that, reiterate that Virtual Virginia will provide teachers who are Virginia licensed and providing instruction for those students who participate. The differences there are the students in Virtual Virginia will have classmates that could reside anywhere throughout the state of Virginia, and they won't necessarily be with their classmates from Virginia Beach. Next slide. And, we do, as was just shared, Virtual Virginia does provide appropriate professional development for their staff. Those staff are highly trained in delivering virtual instruction. So we're excited about having an opportunity to have our students learn from staff who are extremely skilled in delivering virtual instruction. And Virtual Virginia has been around for multiple years, and Virginia Beach has taken advantage of their services for quite some time. Next slide. I'll skip over that one because it's been mentioned several times that there'll be a combination of both synchronous and asynchronous instruction. But Virtual Virginia does use the Zoom platform, which is the same platform that we're using for this meeting. They do use Canvas, whereas we are currently using Schoology. So there are some differences there. Next slide, please. The courses are similar in that they offer through Virtual Virginia advanced placement courses, core courses, the language arts, math, science, and social studies. And middle and high school students will have an opportunity to select from an amended list of course offerings. So in other words, all of the courses that are available to them currently in Virginia Beach City Public Schools are not available to them to take through Virtual Virginia. They have some, but certainly not all. So we need to make sure that families are keeping that in mind as they're making their selection. Next slide, please. And similarly, for our students who are accepted and enrolled in any of our academies or specialty programs, they cannot elect to enroll in Virtual Virginia because those courses are not offered through Virtual Virginia, and they can only be taken if students enroll in face-to-face learning for the fall. Next slide. Students, you will have an opportunity to participate in extracurricular activities at the middle school or high school level. They absolutely have to enroll in their home school, and we will certainly assist with students in navigating that. Next slide, please. And as has been shared, we absolutely will be partnering with Virtual Virginia, so we're not transferring our students completely and totally to Virtual Virginia and will not have any connectivity to them. Students will still have connection with their school-based counselor, not school-based counselor, with a counselor, which will more likely be centrally located. We will also assign our students to a mentor to work very closely with Virtual Virginia, as well as with families and students, to make sure that they're being not only successful academically, but successful socially and emotionally. And if we see any issues there, Virtual Virginia plans to work very closely with us to make sure that we are meeting and having conversations to ensure that students are successful in the Virtual Virginia platform. And then next slide, please. Oh, you're there. What we're asking families to do is to select or pre-enroll an option of their choice through ParentVue if you've not already done so, to consider virtual learning for the 2021-22 school year. And what we're asking families to do is really take a close, hard look at what is best for you and your family. And to help in that, we have a document. It's called the Virtual Virginia Readiness Questionnaire. And there are a series of questions that you can ask your child and certainly ask staff at the school to help you answer. And they ask questions. For example, was your child successful in virtual learning this school year? Do you have the proper support at home? Because sometimes our youngest learners do have difficulty navigating the computer aspect of virtual learning. And if there are any other issues or concerns that may have come up this school year relative to virtual learning, and to take those things into consideration as you're making your decision. So we do encourage that. And if you have not already done so, please make sure that you complete the pre-enrollment survey. And with that, I will turn it back over to Dr. Alexander to answer any questions that have been shared with us.
Thank you, Dr. Rogers, for that information. Greatly appreciate it. So yes, through the submission form, we had several questions, of course, for Virtual Virginia and also for VB School staff. The first question I'm going to start with was on a lot of people's mind is this, Dr. Rogers, I'm going to throw this to you first. What date in August will the start date be? Is it August 10th or August 24th?
That's a great question. Virtual Virginia they have two cohorts, and they do start earlier than we start in Virginia Beach. So Virginia Beach will start our classes on August 24th. And that means that students will have to begin class earlier. There are some other dates that families need to keep in mind when you look at the calendar of Virtual Virginia, and they do have the calendar posted on their website. The differences are, I'll point them out, that are probably most important for families as they're planning for the upcoming school year. We have, for face-to-face students, have 3 days for our Thanksgiving holiday. 1 day is virtual, so that means that there's some flexibility there, or asynchronous rather. And whereas Virtual Virginia has 2 days traditionally for the Thanksgiving holiday. Winter break is slightly different. Winter break for Virtual Virginia is December 20th through January 3rd. Our winter break is scheduled to take place from December 22nd through January 2nd. Our spring breaks are different. The face-to-face calendar has our spring break being the second full week in April, and Virtual Virginia has 2 days for spring break. It's the Friday, April 15th, and that Monday, April 18th. So there are 2 days of spring break. Our face-to-face calendar has us ending the school year on June 17th, whereas Virtual Virginia's calendar has them ending that second cohort on May 27th. So there are some differences within the calendar, and our families should certainly take that into consideration as they're making their decision.
Thank you, Dr. Rogers. Very, very impressive. You know, all those dates. Quite impressive, sir. Dr. Robertson, I'm going to welcome, and I'm going to throw this to you, sir. And this deals with a fee cost. You know, obviously with Virtual Virginia, parents are concerned about, is there going to be a cost associated with this? So that is the question. Is there a cost associated with Virtual Virginia?
There's not a cost associated with Virtual Virginia for students who enroll in Virginia Beach City Public Schools. We assume all the costs for tuition as well as textbooks and materials.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Ms. Warnick, this is going to come your way. Is the question involving students. So will Virtual Virginia students be paired up in classes with students from different divisions across Virginia?
Thank you for asking that. So yes, the Virtual Virginia serves students and works with divisions all across Virginia. And students will, if they choose to take a class with Virtual Virginia, they will be paired up and in classes with students from across the state. And we feel that this really helps to enrich the experience that students have online. They're able to learn about students from other communities and share experiences, and that really enriches the classroom experience.
Thank you. And then I'm going to stay with you, Ms. Warnick. So spotlight's still on you, ma'am. What about cameras? Are students required to have their cameras on while participating in the session?
Great question. So at the K-5 level, we do expect our students to be on camera during their synchronous sessions. That is a requirement. We want to make sure that the students are in front of the screen and that they're interacting and participating. And the teacher can keep tabs on the students by seeing where they are and looking at nonverbal cues to make sure that they're understanding. And that gives them the ability to adjust instruction there during the moment as they're working with students, whether it's in a whole group, small group, or one-to-one. At the secondary level, we are a little bit more flexible. We really encourage students to be on camera, but it is not a requirement. So we do find that students participate more readily when they are on camera, and it's easier to create an engaging class dynamic when all students are on camera. But again, at the secondary level, we're more flexible, and that's not required.
Awesome. Thank you. A few questions just strictly for Virginia Beach as parents are getting ready to make this decision, and obviously schools are getting ready to close as well. So Dr. Robertson, the first question we have is, will school be 5 days a week face-to-face in the fall?
Absolutely. regardless of any physical distancing mitigations that are required by the Center for Disease Control of the Virginia Department of Health. Virginia Beach City Public Schools will be open for 5 days of in-person learning for all families who choose that option next school year.
I think that's exciting for everybody at this point in time to get some type of normalcy back in school. And the next question, Mr. Freeman, is coming to you. This involves just safety protocols. What will be the safety protocols put in place in the bus and also in the buildings?
Yeah, so as you know, we have a very good partnership with the Virginia Beach Department of Public Health. And as Dr. Robertson stated, we continue to follow what's being put out by the Center for Disease Control, the Virginia Department of Education, and Occupational Safety and Health Administration. We follow their mitigations and their recommendations. So for this year, masks and distancing were very important. We expect that masks will be important moving forward. But we know we see the progression that's happening across the nation and certainly at the state level at this point for where it is. So as a recap, this year we were 3 feet of distancing with masks in the classroom. And then when you removed your mask, like at lunchtime, it required 6 feet of distancing. So we're monitoring as we move forward. And as a matter of fact, we just put updated guidance for masks in an outdoor environment for our students in tonight's communication that went out to families. Ventilation is important. We continue to monitor and make sure that our systems are functioning as properly. We open windows and we give advice for when it's appropriate for teachers to open windows to improve ventilation in classroom. We're continuing with our enhanced cleaning protocols, food services, similar protocols from a safety standpoint. You mentioned transportation. So currently it's masks. We open windows when the weather permits, and we cohort. We assign seats on the school bus, and then we have potentially 2 assigned per seat right now. And we will continue to monitor and see what the recommendations from all those organizations are before we step into next year. And I'll emphasize, the other thing that we do is we monitor what's happening in our schools, and we share that on our website. And our metrics this year have shown that we've been successful in how we've mitigated spreading the disease. So, and the one thing that will be different for next year is a broadly available vaccine. So the FDA just announced this week that 12 and older are now authorized to receive the Pfizer vaccine. So as we progress into this, it becomes more and more available for people and families who, if it's the right decision for them, to be able to take advantage of the vaccine before coming back to next school year. Again, that's an additional level of safety as it relates to COVID.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. A lot of great information there. And I know you're also excited for students to be returning back next year. Dr. Rogers, this question is coming your way. And this involves Virtual Virginia, but really the offering of Chromebooks. So if students do choose Virtual Virginia, will Chromebooks still be provided by the division?
Yes, absolutely. As I shared earlier, we have a lot of connectivity to our students, and providing them with the proper tools to be successful with virtual learning does include providing them with the Chromebook. So because students are enrolled in VBCPS and Virtual Virginia, they're still VBCPS students, the homeschool will assign them a Chromebook and make sure that if any student needs any internet supports, just as we've done this year and a lot of part of last year, we work very closely with those students and families and refer them to our technology support for any support that they may need in terms of internet connectivity. We will, do everything that we can to make sure that students have what they need to be successful relative to any technology.
Awesome. Thank you again. This is for a question. I'm going to jump back to Virtual Virginia. Ms. Warnick, this is for you or anybody. It doesn't necessarily have to be for you. Our secondary content sessions synchronized? I think you spoke about this a little earlier, but could you reiterate this particular fact?
Absolutely. So I will share that synchronous instruction is an important part of the model, whether it's a K-5 learner or a secondary learner. So there's absolutely daily opportunities for synchronous instruction for all students in the program. At the secondary level, students have synchronous sessions 3 times a week in their content. That's again a deeper dive into the content, where they're guided through with their teacher, but they also have opportunities for application and discussion. There is a Q&A session each week that is, again, a little bit more flexible in its schedule. So students can come in, they can ask any questions, they can get directed help with their assignments, or ask questions about something that they just may not be understanding as they're going through their work. And again, students have a specific day, Fridays, that are dedicated to one-to-one appointments that students can set with their teachers. And again, that's flexible. They can set one-to-one appointments other days with their teacher, but there's one day specifically for that.
Thank you. And you kind of answered this within what you just said, but because life happens, right? And a child has a doctor's appointment or something along those lines, of course, everyone wants to know, what do I do if my child is enrolled in Virtual Virginia? What happens if I have a doctor's appointment and my child can't attend that session? Could you speak a little bit about that as well?
Sure. And this is the response that I'll give is for any student, whether they're a younger learner, elementary level or secondary. Anytime a student needs to miss, the parent can contact the teacher to let them know, or the student, for our older secondary students, they can contact the teacher to let them know that they'll be out. And any synchronous instruction that they may miss is recorded at any level. So they go in, those recordings for the daily synchronous instruction go into a course video library. The student can go in and see the instruction that was missed. And of course, that's always there for them to go back, not just if they miss a class, but if they just need some additional remediation, they want to go back and review before maybe an assessment. So that's there as a resource throughout the year.
Thank you, Ms. Warner. Dr. Robertson, I'm coming your way with this question. And this deals with volunteers, parent volunteers. When students go back to school next year, will volunteers be back? Will volunteers be able to come back to school as well?
Well, it's a good question, Dr. Alexander. Of course, that also falls in your camp a little bit.
Yes, it does.
At this point, it's too early to answer that question, because we're going to, again, as Mr. Freeman shared, we're going to follow the guidelines that are provided to us by, again, the CDC, the Virginia Department of Health, et cetera. And so we have benefited.
Nope. Did we lose you, Dr. Robertson? I think we lost him. That's okay. Welcome to the virtual world. It happens everywhere. So I'm going to, until we can come back, I'm going to jump to Dr. Rogers, excuse me, or Mr. Freeman, you can answer this question. And this is just, if students are enrolled in Virtual Virginia, will they be allowed to participate in after-school activities like sports?
Yeah, I can answer that, Mr. Freeman. Yes, and I alluded to that a little bit toward my comments before, but yes, students have to be enrolled in their homeschool, of course, and if they are enrolled in their homeschool, they will be allowed to participate in sports and activities. There's a little caveat there. I want to be clear about taking like band and other performing arts courses. Those are actual classes, so students would not be able to participate in those activities that are associated with an actual course. But in terms of sporting activities, basketball, football, and things of that nature, yes, students would be able to participate in that.
Awesome. And one more question for you, Ms. Warnick. A question came up about could you give a small example about a typical day for a secondary student?
So I would say for a student that is taking the Virtual Virginia courses, whether they're on a 4x4 or full year schedule, we offer a variety of schedules. So according to what the student may have, they may have 4 courses, synchronous sessions a day, or they may have more than that, depending on the courses that they take. They would start the day with their first synchronous session of the day, logging in to Virtual Virginia, making sure that they have the materials that they need according to the course. We do recommend that students have some pretty basic things, a notebook, making sure a place to keep organized. I think a planner is really a great idea for students, making sure that they're allocating time for their synchronous sessions, their asynchronous work, and then other things that they have going on in life. That's really an important piece for our secondary students because we know that they're involved in many different things. So a typical day, getting up, logging into their synchronous sessions, then they would have a break, work on some asynchronous assignments for the course. Classes all have different assignments spaced out through the week. All coursework is paced by the teacher. The teachers will be going in and actively grading and providing feedback on the work, but it is important that students are working through their asynchronous assignments during the week. So again, it's going to be alternating between synchronous sessions, asynchronous work, breaks to get away from the screen, get up and move and stretch, take a walk, go do some exercise, come back for their next synchronous session. We don't want our students to sit in front of the screen continuously for 12 hours. That's not healthy for our students. It's not healthy as adults. So we want to make sure that students are getting those breaks. But I will say it is that alternating schedule of working, taking a break, and then coming back to it.
Thank you.
Dr. Alexander, can I add, I think I forgot a key piece, and I know Dr. Robertson would have chimed in, and I'm sure Mr. Freeman may have thought about it as well. Relative to students participating in extracurricular activities and sports, it's important that families know that transportation to and from those programs will be the responsibility of the parent. Unless an activity bus has already been scheduled to transport students home from those activities. So while students will be allowed to participate in those activities, the responsibility for transportation to and from those activities and programs will be the responsibility of the parent.
And Dr. Alexander, my apologies. I'm sure I broke off just, but hey, it's a technology lesson, right? It was an
That's
automatic
right.
restart.
That's okay,
You
Dr.
were
Out of
just-
my control.
Back.
Hey, but I'm back.
All right, you're just keeping me on my toes. I know how it works. No worries. So Ms. Warnick, I did say that was the last question before, but I actually have one more for you. And this is just, if I'm a parent and I do happen to choose Virtual Virginia, what advice would you give me and how can I start to prepare for that process?
So wonderful. One of the things that I would say is congratulations on making a decision of what you're going to do next year. I think it's been a challenging year for everybody. And if you choose Virtual Virginia, what you can expect to do is to hear from us starting in June and July with some next steps. Those next steps really are just getting to learn a little bit more about the program, about what to expect when you get started. All students will start and will have orientation open houses to let parents know what to expect the first day and the first week. Students will all start with an orientation when they get into courses, and that really just takes them through what Canvas looks like. Canvas is where the Virtual Virginia courses live. And so learning how to navigate, learning how the tools work, that's the most important first step, because once you've got that, then you can start adding the content and you'll be successful. Students will also have welcome sessions with their teachers to get to know them and to get started with the courses. So we have several pieces that will help welcome students and get them used to the learning environment. We want to make sure that that's the most important piece in place first. But as far as parents and students, what to expect with communication, we do start early. We just want to make sure that you know when the open houses are and when you can get started.
Thank you, Ms. Warren. I appreciate that. And then VB Schools leaders, I guess I'll start with Dr. Rogers. Last words and kind of as we move into the new school year.
So we're excited to have students back in school 5 days a week, just as I'm sure our families are. And I want to reiterate, we are planning for a robust experience for students who choose virtual learning, but our absolute preference is to have all of our students in school, face-to-face, 5 days a week, because we feel that's best for our students, especially our youngest learners in grades K through 2, our students with disabilities, our English language learners, and students who may have 504. So you'll hear that come from me as a broken record. I think Virtual Virginia is going to be a phenomenal option for students who choose to learn virtually 100% next year. And I know that we're going to have a great partnership and provide lots of support for those students who choose to learn virtually through Virtual Virginia. But I want parents to really take some time to think about what's best for your family, because Virtual Virginia is not going to be any easier than the face-to-face option. In fact, it's probably going to be just as, if not more challenging, because students have to navigate learning in a different way than from which they have been accustomed to. Just know that, should that happen, we will be here with school-based counselors, with mentors, with other staff who are here to support you along the way. But, I would be remiss if I didn't say that our preference is to have all of our students in school face-to-face. And we've prepared beyond what you can imagine to make sure that we are able to have our students learning in an environment that is as safe as we can possibly make it. So I'll just say that, and certainly use the tool that we've provided for you that have some guiding questions that you and your family can go through to really ask those deep questions, whether or not virtual learning 100% of the time is going to be the right thing for you and your family.
Thank you, Dr. Rogers.
So,
Dr. Robertson, Mr. Freeman, any final words?
The only thing I would say is I agree 100% with Dr. Rogers, and I am so thankful that we can provide parents two outstanding options for their child to receive their education next year. Very thankful for that.
I couldn't agree more, and I got nothing to add. Thank you,
Okay.
Dr. Alexander.
I was going to do the proper wait time there. Well, thank you all of our panelists. Thank you so much. Virtual Virginia, I really want to thank you for the last 3 sessions and being part of this, and of course partnering with VB Schools on this important endeavor. And to our families that have been watching, thank you. This is an important decision that you have to make. And please, as Dr. Rogers said, utilize the readiness forum to really have conversations about the options that are available to you, but know that we really do want you back face-to-face. And as Dr. Rogers said, that is our preference for sure. Please remember that these sessions are going to be recorded or have been recorded. And if you have questions, please visit VB Schools and visit the FAQs on VB Schools about Virtual Virginia and the options available. The last reminder is please do not forget to fill out your pre-enrollment survey. The deadline is May 16th, which is approaching quickly, and that survey is located within Parent View. On behalf of VB Schools, thank you so much. Have a safe evening.